More evidence to support that the Liberal government has no idea what they are doing. Welcome back to the Canadian Shield. My name is Sterling. We're going to be covering a couple of things in this episode. We're going to talk about how the Americans had to protect Vancouver for us, our largest port on the West Coast. We're going to further discuss how there was some appropriation given to Colt for weapons to the Northern Rangers that cannot stand the cold in the North. And Doug Ford has come out and told all conservatives that he feels they shouldn't be on the right side of the aisle. They should just come over and be liberals like he is. Before we talk about those things, I want to open with something that I found to be pretty funny. North Korea to open a beach resort as Kim bets on tourism. I picked this up from the BBC. So the dictator of North Korea has opened a beach resort that they say will hold 20,000 visitors, occupying a 4-kilometer stretch of beaches with hotels, restaurants, shopping malls, and a water park. Now, he's only opening it up currently to people that are in the country. And you can imagine that it's going to be open to international visitors sooner than later. I just wonder in my mind, would you go to North Korea? If I sit here, you can have a 2-week stay in North Korea free of charge. The flight is covered. Everything you want. The whole thing. Boom. No, would you still go? Would you go? I mean, I don't know. That seems a little bit it's like a severe dictatorship. I'm not sure that it's the kind of place that you can just relax on the beach or relax anywhere for that matter. But I thought it would open with something funny because I just thought in my mind, like, there are so many ways that you could improve the economy of North Korea. I'm not sure tourism should be your first, your go-to. I got this from Yahoo News, but apparently they got it from the Calgary Herald. Doug Ford tells Polyev conservatives avoid the hardcore right wing. Now, right out of the gate, I'm not going to take advice from Doug Ford. And I am certainly not going to allow anybody to call anything that is not on the left hardcore right wing. I mean, let's remember that. The mainstream media has got everybody believing that if you're not 100% deep far left extremist, everything else is far right. Right? They don't see any middle. They don't have any understanding of that. They're subtle nuances of a jackhammer. Now, Doug Ford will say and do whatever it takes to get the vote. He's one of those kind of politicians. That's why one of his campaigns was all about beer. I mean, imagine. So this fella asks him, what does Ford, leader of province's progressive conservatives, think federal conservatives could do to win over more Canadians, a few more Canadians? Now, right out of the gate, I think it's important that we recognize that if they hadn't have put all of the vote in one pile, the conservatives would have won, right? I mean, they gained 20 more seats, 2 million extra votes. They have won whole regions of Southern Ontario that have never been anything but liberal for a long time. So I don't know that necessarily everybody wants to see it for what it is, right? Because they put the entire, like the Green Party stopped running people where the Liberals were running. The NDP, I mean, that was a fiasco. And then everybody decided that they were going to get behind Carney. And we can see now that is also a fiasco. There's no other word for it. Not a single thing that the Liberals have ever said, including Mark Carney's Liberals, have they done. So, I mean, I'm a little bit apprehensive to take any advice from any of the individuals who, in their mind, can't see the numbers for what they are, and who think that because the Liberals got a minority government, somehow the Conservatives are, on the ropes. Now, without boring you with all of the stuff that Doug Ford might have said, he goes, it can't be one extreme or the other. You can't be far left or hardcore right. I would always promote being fiscal conservative, but you've got to have a social heart too. You can't be hardcore right. That's not Canada, hardcore right. So we can take from that Doug Ford watches too much of his own news, right? We know that Doug Ford is not actually an independent thinker because he called the left extreme and he called the right hardcore. Why would he apply different words to each? And I'm sorry, but Canada is absolutely hardcore. We've invented hockey where you have fist fights in the game because we all know that when you play a game of hockey, there is a lot of trash talk. kind of stuff that makes people get angry and throw fists. In addition to that, let's talk about the amount of wars and history of Canada where when they put the Canadians in, things got done. No. I hate to be the one to tell you, we don't have any problem looking after people. No issue whatsoever. But this idea that we're a far left organization or a far left country is only new, right? It's only something that's happened in the last 10 years. And think of the amount of immigration that has happened in those last 10 years and how many people might be casting their votes without actually understanding the subtle nuances between the two. These kinds of things matter. That's why they are so bent on bringing in more individuals, right? That's why they try to cram all of these individuals into regions and areas that they don't have the seats. I mean, we see it happen. We know it happens. They know it happens, and they know they're doing it. Of course, Doug Ford chirping off like he's some kind of a conservative in name only. Now, I agree with fiscal responsibility, but I don't see anybody on the left that's fiscally responsible, and that includes Prime Minister Carney. So I'm not sure why he figures that what he said makes any sense, because it doesn't make any sense to me. It just sounds to me like pandering. It sounds to me like he's just saying something because he thinks that it'll make people like him more. Now, one of the things that you have to appreciate when you want to lead people out of a problem is that they don't have to like you. You just have to do what needs to be done. That is complete opposite to every politician. Most of the politicians we got running up and down this country. I mean, we can see this, there's some politicians out west that do what needs to be done. And the people say, hey, it worked well in our favor, and that's great. Many of the other politicians in this country, however, are going to tell you whatever it is they think that you want to hear so that they can have their job. They're not worried about accomplishing anything. That's why nothing ever changes, because they're not trying to change anything. And as soon as you confront them with change, well, they start to scream and freak out. Now, I don't know that Doug Ford has the polling numbers that he believes he has. Like, I don't know that he still has the support, because Ontario is one of the ones that's getting decimated, absolutely crushed by all of the inability of Mark Carney and the inability of Doug Ford, who told everybody in Ontario that he needed those 4 years because he was going to solve the problem right now. I don't see any solving of any of the problems between Ford or between Carney. All I see is Ford now saying, well, let's see what Mr. Carney will do while he holds on to his hem of his gown. Now, I think that Doug Ford should really just sort of put the pancake batter down, set down all of the other things that he's doing, and figure out how he's going to stimulate the economy. Because he took a lot of Pierre Poilievre's talking points. He didn't have any problem about using shovels in the ground and about ring of fire and making mines and doing all the legislation. He had no trouble whatsoever. Now, all of a sudden, he thinks that the whole entire country should just shift over to, I don't know what he believes. I don't know why people believe that because you're a conservative, you don't care about things. Being fiscally responsible is something that everybody has to do. So why, in your mind, do you think because your mother is good with money, she doesn't care about you? Or why do you think because your father is good with money, he doesn't care about you? Like, why do those two somehow associate in the mind of Doug Ford? Again, because he sees it on propaganda. He sees it on TV. I picked this up from the Ottawa Citizen. Stocks on new Ranger rifles are cracking and need to be replaced. It will take 3 years and an estimated $10 million to replace the stocks, which have seen cracks because they can't withstand excessive moisture. Oh, I don't think that that's the situation. I think that there's too much moisture in the stock, and it's cracking when it gets out into the cold. Stocks on the new rifles issued to the Canadian Rangers for use in the far north are cracking and have to be replaced because they can't withstand excessive moisture, which again, I don't agree with. In addition, the lamination on the C-19 rifle wood stocks is peeling off, the Department of National Defense acknowledged. So somebody made these stocks to be pretty, hang on the wall, laminated and all kinds of foolishness. And here we can see that they cannot withstand the temperature, which is kind of a strange thing for a rifle that's being issued to a man who lives in the Arctic. Now, I got another article from the about the rifle, and it says the rifles issued to the Rangers can't stand up to the Arctic cold. So I don't know why somebody's trying to put the kid gloves on there, but we shouldn't be surprised with the far left media trying to always paint it as something other than the truth, right? Can't extend excessive moisture. It was supposed to be a firearm upgrade specifically designed for Arctic conditions, but cracks in the wooden stocks of the Canadian Rangers C-19 service rifles now require a costly fix. The weapon replacement was part of a $32.8 million contract with Colt Canada to provide Finnish designed bolt action 30-odd rifles for the Rangers. The C-19 rifle is and remains an effective and accurate weapon for the Canadian Rangers, said Alex Tetro, senior communications advisor with the Department of National Defense, in an email. The C-19 rifle features a custom designed red stained stock with Canadian Ranger crest inlay. The trigger guard is extra large to accommodate gloved hands. In response, Colt Canada conducted extreme weather testing on the C-19 stocks. Results showed the wood lacked sufficient protective finish to properly seal it from extreme environmental exposure. So let's just start with the liberals' obsession with other countries. If it's not China, it's Norway. I mean, they stand up, they talk about Norway having cars, they talk about Norway having electric cars, but they will ignore Norway's oil and gas production. How come it is that we have guns that are made by Norway, purchased through Colt? That is not a good look in my mind. There has to be plenty of trees that can withstand the cold along the, let's go up into a mountain, British Columbia. We'll just go up as high as the trees go. Wherever they stop growing, we'll say, okay, this is as cold as it's going to get on this mountain. We'll cut down those trees. They're bound to be able to withstand the cold. We'll have them cured correctly, or we'll give them metal stocks, right? I mean, the folding stock, it must be okay. I've seen it used a lot. The hinge would only be the thing to be worried about. I mean, when you consider the importance of a stock in accuracy, that's something that I may be incorrect about, right? Why a metal stock might not work up north, I don't know specifically, but I understand that if the material we are using is not good enough, there's something wrong in the procurement process. And why we would look a field at Norway, a country of 5 million people, while we have the entire country of Canada not manufacturing these weapons, not putting in the material. I mean, there shouldn't be anything. You say to me, oh, well, we got a scope that's made better in Japan because they're really good with the lenses over there, or made better in Germany because they're really good with lenses. I say, great, let's buy those scopes for now, and then let's figure out which company can manufacture them to that degree in Canada. Because there should be nothing about our munitions that are not made and sourced in Canada, and including rifles for the Northern Rangers. This is embarrassing. And it cost us $30 million. So now they're up there with weapons. What are they putting them together with duct tape? Is that what they're holding them onto? Because the stock is broken. So when they go to lay on that, or when they go to use it to support the shot, what's going to happen? Is it going to jab them in the shoulder? What is going to go wrong there? I'm not even sure. But somebody put it together to be attractive, right? Oh, we'll put the emblem on it. We'll make it red. We'll do this. What we want is something that works. You see what I mean? They don't need to identify themselves with their rifle. They need to know that the thing works, because right now it's a paperweight. So I don't know what the emblem is doing. I don't know what making it red did for them. Nothing, absolutely nothing. And I do understand that with the Canadian government took Canadian money, Canadian tax dollars, and sent them to Colt, who then immediately sourced it in Norway. Now, they must have said to the Canadian government that they were going to be doing that. I mean, I got to believe that there was an estimate and a bid and all the rest of that. So what is the Canadian government doing, purchasing weapons from Norway when we should be manufacturing our own weapons? How come it is that a country like Norway, nothing against Norway, they got a small population, however, and yeah, they have the cold, but their population is only 5 million, and yet they still manage to manufacture their own weapons. And yet here is Canada, second largest country on earth, largest coastline in the world, got all kinds of really cool stuff in it. And we can't manufacture our own stuff. We can't protect our own stuff. This is a bad look. This is a terrible look. And the Liberal government has sat idly by and didn't, it was the Liberal government that gave them the contracts. It's only a couple of years that these guns have been around. So here we see again, This no border, this lack of national identity coming to the fore in our current reigning minority government, and how they're taking your hard-earned money, squandering it, because no matter what you say about who got it and how the contract was looked after, it's $30 million down the drain. And what have they done about it? Are those guys up there right now using weapons that don't work? I mean, should we send up a bunch of slingshots? Is that what we're looking at here? Because it doesn't seem like we should be worried too much about the carbon in the air when we can't defend our own shores. That's just my opinion. You can let me know what your opinion is while I move on to this next foolishness that, gave so much ammunition to everybody that pointed out that Mark Carney was not anywhere near the man he claims to be, whether it be negotiating, whether it be the deal maker, whether it be the problem solver. Oh, it's bad. I picked this up from CTV News. U.S. fighter jets scrambled to Vancouver airport during alleged hijacking. NORAD. Now, all of a sudden, right, we know about the backlash. We know that the propaganda media is trying to make you believe that it's all about NORAD. Now, I'll cover that in a sec. I'll get to that. American fighter jets were scrambled towards Vancouver airport on Tuesday as a small plane that was allegedly hijacked from Victoria flew in circles around British Columbia's largest airport. The pilot's intentions were unclear. The F-15 Eagle jets responded from a U.S. base approximately 1:30 in the afternoon, while Canadian CF-18 Hornets were also in the process of responding, a spokesman for NORAD, the Joint North American Aerospace Defense Command, said Wednesday. Washington State Joint Base Lewis McChord is home to a detachment of F-15 Eagle aircraft as part of NORAD's Western Air Defense Sector, comprising personnel from Washington Air National Guard, Royal Canadian Air Force, and the United States Navy. Canada's CF-18s are primarily based at Canadian Base Cold Lake in Alberta, Canadian Forces Base Bougainville in Quebec. Great. So we got planes in Alberta and in Quebec, which even if we were Air Canada, would take you hours to fly from Quebec to Alberta. Now, if this wasn't so embarrassing, I would be laughing my head off, because all of the people that voted for Mark Carney with his elbows up, Mr. Tough Guy, I'm going to take it to 5%. They are finally understanding just how bad the situation is in this country. We had to have jets scramble out of the Washington state to defend our largest port and airport on the western coast of the country. We don't have our own jets there because we simply don't have the investment, the money, the will of the government. Don't go telling me we can't find people willing to fly them. We just can't get a government that's going to balance our economy, because they want to keep all of our stuff that's really valuable in the ground. They want to keep all of the stuff that's really valuable only for themselves and their friends, while the rest of us do without, including having jets. Now, let's just say, for the sake of argument, because they're going to say, well, it was NORAD, that's part of the deal. No, it's not part of the deal to have our only jets in the entire western part of our country stationed in Cold Lake, Alberta. And why would we put them in Cold Lake, you may be asking yourself? Well, because that's centrally located between the top and the bottom, right? So these poor men and women of this flight crew are responsible for everything from the North Pole to Vancouver. Why would we not have 25 or 30 more jets stationed all over? I mean, there should be so many jets stationed in Vancouver, in Halifax, in Montreal, and all of our important ports, all of our important airports. We should have anybody who's considering hijacking a plane, anybody who's considering seeing Canada as a giant, juicy grape on the vine, to be deterred, to be concerned. You hear Donald Trump saying, never say never. Don't worry, Mr. Carney, we're going to protect Canada, as he pats him on the shoulder or on the knee or whatever it was. Now, I, in no way, shape, or form, am trying to cast shade onto the men and women who do the fighting in this country. But I absolutely am trying to point out that as a nation, our leadership is not doing what is necessary to keep our shores safe. We have the longest coastline in the world. The next closest coastline to ours is half as long, and it's an island nation. I mean, the Americans are fixing more ships than Canada has. We basically got, I'm pretty sure that the Iraqis have a better Navy than Canada. Again, not to cast shade on the people that are staffing these ships, but to point to the idea that we have all of these resources. Where is the political will to build these things? All of these things. Why are we worrying about American jets flying out of Washington State when we should have so many of our... What happens, guys, if for whatever reason those people flying out of Washington State get shot down? Now we got no air cover. We got nobody protecting the whole... I mean, the Americans come scramble people out of other parts of the country. But Canada, we got all our eggs in Cold Lake. Or, like I was saying, they got some in Quebec. I suppose that'll only take 2 days to get there. Meanwhile, the bad guys, the villains, the invaders, they're destroying the whole everything. They got they're just having a great old time. They're landing tens of thousands of armed men, women, whatever, soldiers. And we're relying on. And what if for the sake of argument they decided to just land in 2 spots at once? We only got 1 flight. Come on, man. 1 squadron's supposed to. I mean, they're only human. What are they going to do? They're going to cover everything all at once? Imagine in your mind how vulnerable we are. I don't really want to hear how NORAD is set up this way. What I want to hear is how we're not doing our part. What I want you to understand is that when you see Donald Trump sitting in the White House mocking Mark Carney, saying never say never and don't worry, we're going to protect you, you see now what he means. You see now that they have analyzed the Americans, have analyzed our military capabilities, and realize that without them, we are just a house of cards that can be blown over in a moment's notice by some of the weakest militaries on the face of the earth, because we have not taken the time to care about these things, and we have to start to care about these things. We should have so many boats cruising around this coast that people wouldn't be able to get, squeak by with a drone. And they should all be built in Canada and staffed by Canadians. Many on the left don't want to stare at this for what it is. But this is what comes from no investment in military protection. And you can be sure that those same very people on the left, they won't be saying to themselves, hey, how can I help defend if something goes wrong? They'll be looking around asking somebody else to back them up, because that's the very nature of the left. It's never their fault. It's never their responsibility. It's always somebody else that has to pick up the pieces. Okay, but we have to tell ourselves, look, I mean, if it's all in such a bad shape, right? We have to say, okay, now is it's enough. It's time to fix it. It's time to change it. We got the government saying they're going to make 5%, though I'm a little skeptical about that. We see it now for the problem that it is, and we understand that what military we do have are probably stretched way too thin for the size of the nation and for the amount of countries around this world that would covet what we have. So let's get to building our own stuff. Let's get to using our own material, and let's not wait any longer. Of course, I say that, and it just occurs to me that there's nothing we can do for at least 2 to 3 months because the Liberals are on vacation. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I'm going to wrap here. I want to thank you for listening. I'll talk to you next time.